Welcome again to our program. The Village of Addison and its Community Development Department have a number of road construction projects happening during the spring and summer construction season. We're on location today in the Kings Point subdivision on Addison's west side, where we will talk with Mike Crandall, the Village of Addison's Community Development Director, about these many projects, the funding for them, and the benefit that you will see here in Addison. We've come out on location today. We are in the Kings Point neighborhood on Addison's west side, and we're speaking with Addison's Community Development Director, Mike Crandall, about a lot of summer season construction projects. Hi Mike, thanks for coming out and talking with us today.
Hi Don, glad to be here.
We will talk about this project specifically in a few minutes, but summer always means road projects and the street resurfacing program. So let's start by talking about that annual program, how it is funded, and most especially the streets that are going to see work this coming year.
Oh, I'd love to talk about that, Don. Our annual street maintenance program is performed every year. It's funded by our MFT program, which is motor fuel tax. So every time you go to the gas station and fill up your tank, you're being taxed by the state. There's a percentage of that fee that you're paying that will be taxed. That goes to the state. The state then will forward those funds back to the local municipalities to use for road work improvement projects. We do this every year.
What's involved when they do that work, Mike? Typically, what happens at the street level then? What's the work involved?
At the street level, typically, it's really a large project, Don. We mill the streets. Eventually, we resurface them when we're done, but we pick select curb and gutter. So our inspectors will go out, they'll assess the condition of the curb and gutter, they assess the condition of the public sidewalk, they'll look at the drainage structures, any inlets that might be needing to be adjusted or replaced. All of that's done first. Once that's done, then it starts the removal process of curb and gutter. It starts the removal process of public sidewalk and the removal or adjustment of those structures that we just talked about. Once that's all completed, things are re-poured, the streets get milled, and then ultimately the streets will then get resurfaced with brand new pavement.
Okay, well let's look at those areas, Mike. We're going to show our viewers some nice aerial pictures, and maybe they'll see their neighborhood in there. Why don't you go down the list of the streets that are going to actually see that MFT work this coming year?
Yeah, actually this year we're going to have 9 streets that are up for a replacement or a removal and replacement. Foxdale Drive from Squire Lane to Lake Street is on the list, followed by Adamy Court, Jamie Lane, Concord Lane, Silverleaf Lane, Ardmore Terrace, then Catalpa Street from Sherwood to Oak Mill Drive. Then we're doing Oak Mill Drive from Sherwood to Grand Avenue, and then finally we'll finish up with Oak Mill Court.
And you said there's a cycle of number of years, so some of these streets may be brand new, or at least they were years ago, and now they're finally getting work done for the first time.
Yes, yeah, typically we have a database. We try to get the maintenance done within 20 years. Sometimes it's a little sooner, depending on the condition of the streets, but typically no more than 20 years. And we do this by a few things. One's the database I just talked about, but secondly, our Public Works Department and our Engineering Division inspect these streets, and they assess the condition of the streets. And then recently we've acquired a pavement management system, which is a little more high-tech, where we have a van that will actually drive the streets. There's cameras that are pointed onto the streets, infrared cameras. They can kind of assess the condition, not only of the pavement, but of the base, and kind of give you a projection of when those streets might need to be replaced.
Okay, so I guess the word is, when you fill up with gas in your car in Addison, the money's going to come back and help our street resurfacing program.
That's right.
Very good. All right, Mike, let's talk about a big project now that's actually going to be done in a couple of phases, and this is along Lombard Road. And tell us about the first phase, what's going to happen, and what section of Lombard are we talking about here?
Sure. First phase is Lombard South, so that will take place from Army Trail on Lombard south to Fullerton Avenue. That is a federally funded project, federally funded initiative from the state that will involves same type of thing, maintenance of the street that we talked about just a minute ago with our MFT program. We will be removing select curb and gutter along Lombard Road. We'll be replacing sidewalk. There's actually going to be some new sidewalk that will be provided that's not there now. Structure adjustments, ADA compliance. Usually when we're doing the streets like this, if we find sidewalks at intersections that don't meet ADA requirements, those get upgraded at that time. And again, milling and resurfacing of the streets.
Now, there is money that was received to do this project, because just this section alone, which is a big section, is a couple $1 million, right, to do this project?
It is, yeah. It's a couple $1 million, but with us applying for this federally funded grant, this initiative, the village will receive up to 70% of the construction costs for that project. So if this project is going to be approximately $2 million, we will be receiving about 1.3, almost 1.3 million to help fund the project, which is great. The balance of that would be funded with local funds.
Very good. All right, and then of course, not to leave the north end out, Lombard Road North would be planned. That's going to be in a future year with that phase. You want to tell us about the north leg?
That's phase 2, and that will, as it says, north. That would be north of Army Trail all the way to Lake Street. Same type of process with that. We'll be looking at the street. We'll be looking at the public sidewalks and their condition. We'll select those that need to be removed and replaced, as well as the curb and gutter. We'll be looking at those structures as well, those inlets, the drainage structures. We'll be checking for ADA compliance as well, and then ultimately milling the streets and resurfacing those as well.
But that's 1 year out now, Mike?
That's 1 year out.
Okay.
Right now, that is in the design, the engineering design stage, but construction's expected to start later in 25. July is what we're anticipating.
And you've got to do all this planning and design years ahead of schedule and be ready for when the money becomes available.
Absolutely, and that all factored into the budget, the condition of the streets, and we forecast this out several budget years to be able to have the money to be able to do it.
Okay. Moving back to another residential area, and this is going to be College Boulevard on the far west side of Addison. And this is unique because, again, federal dollars were available. So let's talk about College Boulevard now and the work that's going to be happening in that area.
Yeah, we're very excited about this project. This is a federally funded project as well. We received a grant from U.S. Congressman Raja Krishnamurthy's office in the amount of $600,000. And the reason why we're excited about this is it's a complete street replacement and drainage improvement program. So the plan is to completely remove any damaged sidewalks, maybe all the sidewalks and curb and gutter, as well as the replacement of the base. Under drainage would be installed in this area, and then of course the pavement. Along with that, we'd be upgrading our street lighting and landscaping and restoration. So again, this is federally funded, no cost to the village at all. We're anticipating no cost to the village at all based on our estimates now. This is currently in design as well, and we're anticipating it to start in the spring of 25.
When you talk about drainage improvements, that's really important because you want to get that water out of there as quickly as possible, as efficiently as possible, because that's only going to lead to further degradation of the roadways sooner than would be anticipated. So drainage is really important, especially in this area.
Absolutely.
Okay, great. Now, we're going to come back to the location that we're at right now, Mike, but this has an interesting name to it. We call it Kings Point, but it's the Lulo's West Addison
Yes.
Highlands subdivision. Wow.
Yeah, that was kind of news to me too. When we start looking at this and getting into the details of it, we have to make sure the subdivision name is correct. So, you know, working for the village for as long as I have, and Don, I know you've been here a while too. I didn't know it was Lulo's West subdivision, but yes. This is actually phase 2. Last year we did phase 1, which was north of this area, Kings Point North. And it's a road construction, reconstruction project that's very similar to what we've described in the other projects. Here we have some base that is substandard underneath the road. It's called pozzolanic base. That's being removed. Under drains are being put in. Patchwork's being done. We're moving curb and gutter in various locations that need it. If any of the drive approach aprons that are affected by the removal of the curb and gutter replacement, we would do that as well. And of course, public sidewalk.
Yeah, we're watching a lot of the public sidewalk work right now as we're out on location here. And when they do the sidewalk, Mike, is it the same company, same contractor if they find areas of sidewalk that have deteriorated, or maybe there's a trip hazard, this is the time to get that fixed, correct?
Yeah, absolutely. That is assessed and inspected by our community development inspector. Like all these roadway projects, we assess these, we perform a visual inspection, we mark out areas. If you notice, if you look at any of the pavement here, there's a lot of paint that's on the public walk, there's a lot of paint that's on the curb and gutter and some of the street areas too. Those are areas that have been inspected and have been determined to be removed and replaced.
Now, how is this project being funded, Mike? I understand you're getting some dollars for this also.
Yeah, I'm so thrilled to announce that really all of our roadway projects, we're getting some source of revenue other than local funds for it. This project's being funded with Rebuild Illinois money. Again, this is another federally funded initiative to help supplement or help pay for local capital improvement projects and roadway projects. So this project itself is, we have up to almost just nearly $1.3 million to spend on this, and we're using every dollar of it, because if we don't, we lose it. So we've determined the areas that need to be replaced, the sidewalks, the curb and gutter, and we feel that we will maximize that dollar amount.
The next project we'll talk about, Mike, is actually something that's been ongoing during the spring months, so work is underway, a lot of work going on Michael Lane. It includes Lincoln Court, Lulo Drive, and Roseanne Drive, and it's a water main project. So can you talk about what's been happening already up in this area, and why this is so important to get done?
Yeah, this project's a little bit different than the ones that we've already talked about, because it does include water main replacement, but not only that, water service replacement and B-boxes and valve vaults and all different types of appurtenances that are related to the water system. So the village actually applied for, here we go, another grant, a $600,000 community development block grant. We were awarded that grant. That will help fund this project. This project is a combination of the water main replacement, but also with our other roadway projects. It will involve removal and replacement of curb and gutter, adjustment of the drainage structures, and public sidewalk as well. And then, of course, milling and resurfacing the street. It's roughly about a $1.8 million project with the $600,000 community development block grant. That certainly helps supplement that project. Other funding sources are our local funding, as we do with most of our projects.
Is a community development block grant pretty common for a lot of the work that you do? It seems like every year you have at least one or two of those projects.
Yeah, we're fortunate enough that we qualify for this grant. Not all municipalities do qualify for that grant, so we try to capitalize on it as much as possible. It really helps fund all of our capital improvement projects, where we would have to find other revenue sources to be able to fund it. So we're very lucky that we qualify for that.
Then, not too far from that area, at Janice Lane, Maryland Terrace, and Valerie, there is yet another water main replacement and road resurfacing project taking place there. And again, funding it with that CDBG money, right?
Yeah, exactly. That one's planned out. That's in design stage right now. We plan on taking that project on next year. Around the same time in the spring. It will include the same type of work, water main replacement, water service, as well as the curb and gutter removal, public sidewalk removal, and then of course milling and resurfacing of the street. We did get that $600,000 community development block grant, so we're excited about that. So this is a project that has been put in the budget and is ready to go for next year.
Then finally, Mike, there is another really large project that is going to benefit a neighborhood, and I know these residents have been very patient in waiting for this many years. Not necessarily a road project, but something that will really contribute to safety, and that is in the area of Ardmore, Armitage area. Tell us about the Safe Routes to School program and what's going to be happening over there.
Yeah, I'm really excited to talk about this. This, as you said, Don, this was a project that was brought to our attention several years ago from the residents on the southeast part of town. This was an area that does not have public sidewalks, and it's located near one of our public schools, Ardmore Elementary School. unfortunately, the students that would like to walk to school can't. They would have to walk on the roadway, making this extremely difficult to do. As you mentioned, very unsafe to do. The residents approached the village staff asking if we could get the sidewalks in. We kind of did some preliminary engineering assessments to get estimates on cost, and it was really astronomical. The area we're talking about, Don, is on Armitage Avenue, just east of Ardmore Avenue, and that would run east all the way to Ellsworth Avenue. It's a long stretch of Armitage Avenue, and sidewalks would be proposed on both sides of the street. So you can imagine the amount and length of sidewalk, the cost that would be to be able to make those improvements. We looked at the budget, it just really wasn't feasible. We researched more. We looked into some grant opportunities. We found a grant, it's called Safe Routes to School. This is the best part of the story, is we actually worked with the residents. There was a lot of data that had to get collected that you had to submit for this grant, this grant request. Not everybody gets the grant, there's only so much money. We sat and worked with several of the residents. They provided us great detail and data. Their kids go to school. They gave us all of the pertinent information we needed to satisfy the grant request. Took a while to do that. We applied for it, we got all the information and applied, and we were awarded a $250,000 grant to be able to fund this project. It's a great project, as you said. It allows the kids and really just the residents in the area to be able to walk along Armitage Avenue. It's a busy part of town, a lot of traffic, so this does make it so much more safe.
Yeah, it really is an area that has seen a lot of growth with the reopening of Ardmore School through District 4 to a full kindergarten through 5th grade, plus the Addison Early Learning Center being there. So there's a lot of life going on in that area, a lot of construction, some very nice residential areas, all part of this that didn't have all of those amenities, the most important being sidewalks, and you don't want to walk in the street, and the children certainly shouldn't be doing that. But what if you didn't get the grant, Mike? What would have ultimately happened? The residents were very patient and came to the village and maybe were understanding, but at the same time, they wanted this work done. So what if you didn't find that Safe Route to School grant? Yeah,
I mean, like I said, we really scrubbed the budget as much as we could, and you can see the importance of all these capital improvement projects, water main replacement and street resurfacing, and to budget over $500,000 for the sidewalks was a difficult thing to do. The only other option we thought of was maybe setting up a special service area for just that area, and the project would be funded by the residents in the area through their taxes.
Not a good idea.
Not a good idea, yeah. So we really worked hard to do that. If we didn't get the grant, that would probably be our next option, is to propose that.
Wow. So $250,000 in grant money and local dollars, I imagine, also to be
local dollars will pick up the balance of that.
Very good.
And that project is anticipated to start later this year.
Okay.
And completed later this year as well, so later in the summer.
So the residents will be happy, their children will be happy, those sidewalks are going to look beautiful and very safe for that community.
Yes.
Mike, if our residents should have questions about some of the topics we've discussed today here on location, perhaps it is their neighborhood that has seen some work and they have a concern about their ability to, drive down the streets and get to their homes and so on, what is the best option for them to do?
Yeah, there's really two options for them. They can certainly contact me personally in community development or our village engineer. Our number is 630-693-7530. Of course, they can email me myself, M. Crandall, CRANDALL, at Addison-IL.org.
We've been on location today in the Kings Point subdivision, which is getting a lot of work right now, but with all good things, in the interest of progress, there's a lot of work that has to take place. And for all of these projects, that's exactly what we're seeing is a really better Addison and a lot of communities that are going to benefit from the work that Mike has talked with us today. Thanks, Mike, for talking with us and for joining us on location today.
You're welcome.
Our thanks to Mike Crandall for joining us from the Kings Point subdivision. I'm Don Weiss. Thank you for being with us.